Hey, thanks for joining me. We're going to be discussing creating a character, and the character we're going to talk about today is Leas Steele, Master of the Thieves Guild. While many of the Immortal Zero characters have been in development for nearly 20 years, Leas Steele's character never existed in the first several drafts of the Seven Stones. In fact, when she was introduced in the original 2012 version, she and Tynion were added into the story for pure comedic relief, which, as some of you already know, is fucking ridiculous. Aside from not even being particularly funny most of the time, she has a serious streak that rivals General Almadzi. In this article, I'm going to break down how our favorite thief was created and give some author insight into the complex character of Leas Steele. By the way, this is going to be a spoiler-free article. While I'll be referencing the original non-canon work that was published in 2012 and comparing it to the canon 2020 version, I won't be going away into any spoilers for either book, so don't worry about that. I will also be making broad statements about Leas' character for the purpose of describing how she was created, but I won't be going into using examples or talking specifically about any plot points. Originally, the drafts of the Seven Stones consisted of primarily 4 characters: Leona Almadzi, Friedlu, Samara Naomi, and Jazz Armante, with their importance ranging roughly in order from highest to lowest, like that. With each of those characters had varying qualities, personalities, and goals. The story still felt extremely flat. After a rewrite failed in 2008, I abandoned the series completely for nearly 3 years because I could not figure out why the story wasn't pulling together like I wanted it to. The original draft sat on a hard drive somewhere forgotten, and I didn't think about picking it back up, and I didn't think I ever would. That was until about 2011 when I started working on my creative writing degree in university. As part of my degree, and eventually for personal interest too, I studied literature of all kinds, including ancient mythology and early classics from all around the world. This is when I was introduced to Ate. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but she's the Greek goddess of mischief and ruin. In many accounts, Ate was the daughter of Zeus, who had many siblings, each personifying a negative trait such as pain, lies, and forgetfulness. Ate is a trickster god. She was able to trick Zeus into wearing an oath that made Eurystheus a great ruler, because of the oath he became the hero who destroyed all monsters to establish a new era for the Olympians. After learning about Ate, I realized that all my characters shared one trait. They were all too fucking noble. It made the story straightforward to the point of boredom, and everything felt too easy. So I started to play around with this idea of a trickster. I wanted a character that could shake things up and create a bit of chaos. I wanted the character to be female, for no reason aside from the fact that that's what I wanted. And I started to free write an Ate character. A few things started to take shape right away. The color copper was extremely prominent in many of the free-flowing writing activities, and the fact that she was a thief came with the territory of being a trickster. And she gravitated towards airships and technology for the challenge of being able to steal them. And we wouldn't really get into Quixote until much further. Once the larger concepts of her character and appearance were starting to come together, I had to begin focusing on the smaller traits, like her smoking habit and the way she talks. I wanted her to associate Avran with home for plot reasons, and so some of her dialogue has to use colloquial terms and phrases that the other characters sometimes don't understand. Things like water under the bridge when referring to forgive and forget, and not the sharpest tool in the shed when talking about someone not too smart. These are terms that many people from North America and Europe are likely familiar with. My grandma uses these all the time. However, Immortal Zero is not set on Earth, so many of the non-Irani characters misunderstand Leas, and it often leads to interesting dialogue, which is always fun for me to write. As Leas took shape more and more, she started to surprise me with some of the things that came up while exploring her character. For one, she has an intense moral code. Despite being an agent of the underworld for Callian, she has strict rules around killing, both for herself and her guild. Also, she is as analytical as General Almazi, just maybe not as much of an overthinker. In fact, I would argue that in most cases, Leah sees things more objectively than the general does. And finally, she is also seen in the story as being extremely loyal to those she chooses to befriend, even if they don't exactly realize it. The other fact that became apparent was the fact that she was gay. This happened without me even realizing it. When I designed Leas into the story, she was immediately accompanied by Tyneem, her partner, but not in crime. It was an incredibly natural fit for her character. Due to her direct and confident attitude, whether real or a facade, her sexuality could never get shoved into the background or swept under a rug. Not that I tried to. She wore it proudly. In the 2012 version of The Seven Stones, Leas was still a very raw character sketch. I've had lots of people ask me why I abandoned that series, and this is why. I still didn't fully understand what motives Leas would have had in the storyline, and what her main goal was for the entire series. She kept eluding me and threatening to steal the spotlight from the main character, the general. So I eventually abandoned the 2012 version after realizing, after writing a book 2 draft, it really didn't sit well with me due to the inconsistencies in Leas' character near the end. I felt like I had rushed her and tried to crush her into the shape of a comedic relief character, and she was fighting back badly. After more years of working on the plotline and developing my other characters, and Leas more thoroughly, Leas Steele was finally reintroduced in 2020. As I worked on the few final books of the series, I'm pleased that I decided to scrap the non-canon 2012 version so that I could really take advantage of this character. The Thieves Guild and the structure of my world's underbelly hadn't even been developed yet, a huge component of the entire series. One of the black market operations, clans, guilds, assassination organization, slave market, or spy network wasn't there yet. None of this existed before Leas Steele.